Hi, I'm Daniela, and this is Jocelyn. Thanks for coming back to our channel.
Today we're going to update you on where we are in our conception process now.
The last time we touched base with you, we were starting our second cycle of IUI.
So unlike the first time when we did this IUI process,
They made the determination that my eggs were ready to go and my lining looked great pretty quickly. During our first cycle, I had to go in to be monitored like 2 or 3 times before they were like, okay, you're ready. But this time, I just went in the first day I went in for monitoring, and they were like, wow, everything looks beautiful. Your eggs are a great size. Your lining looks perfect. Let's go. We're going to just double check your blood work. We'll call you in an hour or two to tell you if you should do the trigger shot. And I was like, okay. So we went home. And we were like, okay, we're ready to go. We got our trigger shot ready. As soon as they gave me word, I gave the trigger shot, and then I was going to go in the next day.
We were pretty excited about this news because we took it as a good sign that Daniela's body was really responding to the medication. And this was the second time through this process, so I thought, okay, like her body's getting used to the process and maybe more receptive to the process. So we were really happy and excited that this time seemed to be moving a little bit quicker.
Yeah, so we prepared for the sample, gave my shot, woke up early the morning of, ate breakfast, we're ready to go. We drove over to the clinic. We have to go to like one that's a little further away for insemination days. And it was really busy in the clinic. It was like a Friday morning, and they were bumping. I've never seen so many people there. So we ended up waiting for a good like hour and a half. They had to like thaw the sample and see us in between other people. And we did the procedure and felt good. Felt like, okay, we're excited. Things are good. Moving forward. Now I had to rush back home and get to work.
And the worst part, of course, is always the 2-week wait where they just tell you, go back to your normal daily routine, everything's great, act as if nothing ever happened, and that's basically the hardest thing you ever could do because you're just wondering and hoping and wishing and praying and doing all the things to hope that you get your BFP.
I know, during the 2-week wait, I'm constantly like, I should be resting. I should be eating all the foods I want. I should be not drinking. But really, we're just supposed to live life as normal and hope that you're pregnant. And in my mind, I'm always like symptom spotting. I felt like pretty nauseous the day of insemination and the day after. And I was like, oh, obviously it's too early for morning sickness, and that feeling of nausea is caused by an increased level of HCG in your body. And that is actually what the trigger shot is. So I read that sometimes that can make you a little bit nauseous. So I was like, okay, maybe that's why I was nauseous. But so you try not to symptom spot, but it's really hard not to.
So about a week into our 2-week wait, Daniela had an appointment to get some blood work in order to check her progesterone.
So once I go in the morning, they take my blood work, and when I go home, they usually call me about lunchtime with the results of the lab work, and they called me around lunch, like 1 o'clock, a little later than usual, and gave me the numbers. And I think I was at a 9.5, which the time before on IUI number 1, I was at like a 12. So I was like a little bit concerned because last time I wasn't pregnant and it was a 12, which was higher. And now it's a 9.5.
So I wanted to ask the nurse, and she said anything between like 8 and 11 is still considered a good sign. So we were just trying to stay like even keeled and positive and wait a whole other week until we could figure out if Daniela was going to be pregnant.
So the following week after that blood work, I had to get another blood work, and this blood work was to test for pregnancy. So I went in, got my test, and then we patiently waited for a phone call. And the phone call took a while, which was abnormal. Usually they call me in the afternoon. So as the day went on and we were patiently watching the hours, I was getting more and more nervous.
Then finally, towards the end of the day, like a few hours before the office was ready to close, we got a call from the doctor.
When I picked up the phone and heard the doctor's voice, the first thing I remember her saying was, I'm sorry, Daniela, I don't have good news. As soon as I realized it was her on the other end of the phone, I had a feeling it wasn't going to be great because usually the nurses call me back with the results. So I feel like they make the doctor call with the bad news.
Yeah.
So she let me know that, she was sorry, but she had to report that I wasn't pregnant. And I kind of had a feeling that was coming because I did have cramps throughout the day. And it was really heartbreaking and discouraging to hear. Like, as soon as she told me I wasn't pregnant, later on that afternoon, I got my period. So obviously there was definitive evidence as well. And then we asked her, what's going on? What can we do differently? Why am I not getting pregnant?
She was really reassuring that, everything is looking good and there's really no reason why it shouldn't be working. It just isn't right now. She was pretty encouraging when it came to, like, let's just keep trying.
Yeah, I think she was optimistic because my blood work has been looking good with my thyroid levels. And she said that because they're looking good, it shouldn't be playing a factor into whether or not I'm getting pregnant. And so that was a little bit reassuring, but then it also made me think, like, what the hell's wrong with me? Like, why is it not working? And then I think about, like, is the sperm not eating the egg? Is the sperm eating the egg and it's not attaching? Like, at what step is it not working? And obviously that's something they can't tell me because they don't have, like, a camera inside me watching every step. I wish they could, though. She seemed really optimistic that we had only been doing letrozole and maybe now it was time to try Clomid. So that made Jocelyn feel a little better because she was interested in me trying Clomid from the beginning, but the doctor that we have right now is not the doctor that we started with our first IUI. That doctor retired like a week after we got our first IUI. So we switched over to another doctor in the practice. And she said that she felt good about us trying Clomid this time.
So Daniela got her prescription ordered into a pharmacy for Clomid, got some more blood work to make sure that her body was ready for this next cycle, which would be IUI number 3.
So I called them and reported, and they said, okay, come in on Tuesday at 8 a.m. So that was like cycle day 4 for me. And we'll do your baseline blood work and ultrasound. I said, okay, great. So I went in there in the morning of getting ready to start the next cycle. I had already ordered more sperm. It was on its way to the doctor's office. And at that time, when they were doing the ultrasound, they noticed a cyst on my right ovary. There's always a cyst that lives on my right ovary, but this time they noticed a second one. And so the second cyst, they said it could be nothing. It could be like a follicle that didn't shed, which is common when doing like forced ovulation with the trigger injection. But they also said it could be something called a functional cyst, and we'll know when we get my blood work back depending on what my estrogen levels are. So apparently this functional cyst will release estrogen and make my estrogen levels higher. I believe this isn't scientific. I didn't look it up. I'm just going off of what they told me during my appointment. So basically when taking medications to grow your follicles and to force your ovulation, this could happen and it's common, but when it does happen, then you have to skip your cycle. Because my estrogen levels were so high, they said that the Clomid wasn't going to work to grow my eggs this time. So unfortunately, not only did we just face this heartbreak that we weren't pregnant, but now we found out we had to wait another month to try again.
So our 2-week wait turned into a 4-week wait, turned into a question mark because we don't really know when exactly definitively we're going to be allowed to start again. Basically, we just have to make sure that Daniela is as healthy and comfortable as she can be, and that the cyst or whatever is going on is going to pass and we can still do what we need to do.
We just have to wait until I get my period again. So that was a whole nother 4 weeks. Once I get my period again, I'll call them with cycle day 1 and tell them we started. They'll have me come in cycle day 4 or 5 as usual. They'll take my blood work and do my ultrasound. And at that time, we'll know if my estrogen levels return to normal. If they return to normal, then we're clear to start IUI number 3. If they have not returned to normal, then we're going to have to take some other steps to bring down my estrogen. A few of the doctors, when you get your ultrasounds, there's like sometimes the nurse scans you, sometimes your doctor, sometimes another doctor in the practice. So multiple of them had mentioned that they see some signs of endometriosis on my uterus. And that's something that was super concerning to us. But I talked to them and they said, obviously these are just signs or like potential evidence, but there's no way to know without doing a surgery to diagnose that. So at this time, it could be endometriosis, it could not be endometriosis, but they also felt like it was like minimal signs, so we're just going to keep an eye on it. And they did say that women do get pregnant all the time with these types of cysts and scarring, so I think this is something that I'm going to talk to them a lot more in depth with now, coming around this 3rd round of IUI, because I'm starting to get to the point where I'm just like, I know it's only our 3rd IUI, but we have been also trying to conceive for quite some time, as you all know. It has been
since October of 2020. And right now it is February of 2022. So it's been a while for us. We've done, what would you say, 10 to 12 ICI inseminations with no success.
Yeah.
We took a little few month break while we got situated in our new surroundings with moving and everything. And it gets more and more difficult, I think, each time that we try and it doesn't work, especially now that we're spending significantly more on sperm and the procedure itself. So it feels really defeating, to say the least.
For sure. I think every time it fails, it's a little bit more heartbreaking and disheartening and leaves you feeling a little bit hopeless. But I'm not going to say but, we're going to keep remaining hopeful. Of course, that's a given. We want our miracle, but at the same time, it's okay to feel like this sucks, because it does.
Yeah. The only real way to not feel so helpless in this situation is to just keep trying to help you guys. So we're just going to keep putting all of our energy into creating really valuable content in hopes that it will help some of you out there, even in ways that it's not helping us right now.
Yeah, and I feel like obviously there's an elephant in the room in the sense that like a lot of people who create YouTube videos about trying to get pregnant, their headlines are like, got pregnant on the first try, or did this or did that. And I think it's pretty evident that the issue is not with the methods that we've talked about or the process of insemination. The issue is obviously like with me internally.
This is just a journey that not everyone is so boastful to share. Like, of course, when you are getting success on the first try, who wouldn't want to share that with the world? And that's amazing, and that's a great story to tell. But there are a lot of other stories out there too, and I think that they also deserve the spotlight sometimes, because it's, probably a more real situation than we let on to. So just knowing that, you're not the only one going through the situation, and that you're not the only one struggling or failing, makes it feel like, okay, maybe it's not just me. There are a lot more stories that follow the path that we're on, where maybe it takes multiple attempts before you're successful.
While we wait to start our cycle number 3, we're just going to keep creating informative content and sharing it with you guys.
So make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to turn your notification bell on to stay updated on where we are now.
If there's anything you'd like us to talk about and do research on, just let us know in the comments.
See you soon.